Good morning, everyone. Beystor Makoala, www.beystor.co.za. I'm making this short video today because I have been struggling with my Stoeger M4K, but I did manage to fix this piece that was giving me issues there. It's nice and tight. The action works well. What I needed to do was put this back on, and I realized that the bolt assembly was really dirty. So without further ado, this is the one thing I have not really covered. I will go in detail, strip it all the way. There's no right way of doing it or wrong way, but there are things that should be in a specific place in order for everything to be back together. I'm not going to be taking off this actual bolt, and I learned just the other day that this is actually a Benelli bolt, which is very, very nice. This explains why it's so smooth. Let me get into the shot there, and then you will actually even hear and feel that it's actually a great piece of equipment indeed. So without further ado, I'm gonna just try and take everything apart. For this, I'm definitely gonna need a set of pliers or pliers. Pull that out, needs a little bit of wiggling, right? And I'm gonna set it aside here. And then once I've taken that piece out, there's a few ways you can do this, right? One of the ways that I prefer you do it is you actually depress the firing pin, and then just once you have that in, you just take a screwdriver or any other tool that you have that will be able to just get that out the way. So I'm gonna put everything onto here. Okay, just being careful that you don't lose that spring there. Put it aside, and then once that back portion has been done, we just have a pin here that holds this bolt in place. So the one way you'd want to do that is by perhaps taking like a cloth so that you don't damage your equipment. A couple of taps, and then there it goes out. And once that's off, you're going to set it aside. Just keep in mind while you do that, remember the hole that this is going to get back in. So I know that it's going to be the rear one because this one won't fit at all. So don't try and force it into that small hole that's here in front. Okay, so I want to set this aside, remove this blue item, and then just comes out like that. Okay, from the other angle, just like that, and it's completely out. So I'm gonna take, the spring falls off again. I'm gonna take a cloth, wipe everything down. I don't see my ballistil, my favorite ballistil that you know about, but I'm just going to give this a nice couple of turns, and it looks good. Put it aside. The actual bolt itself, I have cleaned this before, but while I'm here, I'll just put Lucas oil once I've got everything cleaned up. I believe this I also did that retainer pin when I did the previous video. The spring here, you want to be careful, so I'm just going to pull it out and then clean the firing pin. Put it back aside, and then being very, very careful with the spring, I'm going to just lightly turn it so I don't overdo it. Put this guy back in, right, and I'll apply a little bit of, like, just a tiny bit of oil. Clean everything. Okay, and retain a pin if I have not already done so. And now, perfect. So before I do that, let's get the easy cleaning for any firearm extreme duty gun oil. Okay, it's made in the US. I do have some locally made. So I'm gonna try and go to those areas where you see the shine. So I do have oil that's manufactured here in South Africa. I believe it's called RAM, RAM. So just doing every bit where I find with some silver lining showing a little bit of wear, because I don't want to over oil this thing until it gets to a point where, you know, where you get a shooting range and there's like oil all over, and then people look at you in a very strange way. So this, I'll just use my fingers for that, same as this here. I'll just dab a little bit there and then use my fingers. Right, with that, I'm gonna do this one yet. I'll do it, the housing itself, I'll do it once everything is put back together. Right, I'm gonna do the spring and the final spring. Just enough, and then make sure that there's not too much oil or grease. Okay, so onto this, I just need to get to the inside and clean it properly. So I'm gonna use the same cloth, and in fact, instead of using a screwdriver, I'll find an old pen, and then I'll just make sure that everything is properly aligned. I realize that I like to say align a lot when I make these videos. Okay, something that I pick up on my regular IT job. By the way, I'm a cybersecurity expert. Right, so it looks like I don't even have to go inside there because it's nice and clean. So what I'll do is that I'm gonna take you through a process of putting everything back together. Right, so one of the best ways you can start with it is just to take the spring, drop it into there. Okay, so once that spring has been dropped into the actual housing itself, you can either then making sure that everything is facing where it should be facing. You can start with that bolt, and then remember which pin it is. That's holding that, which is this one here. And before I knock it into place, I'm just going to place it there, just to make sure that everything does fit back together. Right, it actually fell now because I realized I may have had to install the spring first, but it's in place. So what I'll do now is I'll flip this around just to make sure that I can put that pin back in there. Looking good. So I'm gonna just take a screwdriver, the rear end where the rubber is, and then just make sure that that's in place. Perfect. All right, so that's already in place, this retainer pin here, and the only thing we have to do now is just install this component. However, we're gonna have to do this last. Okay, we're gonna have to do this last, and I'll show you why. We need to reinstall, because if we install it now, okay, and try and slide, as you can see there, there's no way that it can ever go back in. So I'm just gonna put it aside and then find the rail. Okay, that's in the shot. I'm gonna try and find this rail. I don't wanna take everything apart again. Make sure that it's nicely aligned. Align once more. Okay. Okay. So the spring, and voila. Okay, before it runs away from me, what I have to do now is to, as we had a look the other day, just make sure that we get this installed back in, so that it at least holds everything in place, so we don't have to use force or anything of that sort. This does take a few turns, and once it's there, I'll pull it back, making sure that this whole fore end is in place. Now it's not going anywhere. Okay, Now that's not going anywhere, we can focus on the component that we need to install last, and then screw this on. What I learned was you have to use pliers. One of the ways is you can take a small set like that without damaging the actual grooves, and then try and tap on the same one, and then it slots in and locks in place just like that. Okay, and then finally what I'll do is just wipe everything down, the oil, so my hands don't slip, and then just screw that on. I'm not going to be doing any testing, dry firing at this stage, because I already tested this and we saw it in action. Check out my previous videos. Beystor Makoala, that's Beystor Makoala. With that, I'd like to thank everyone for their time today, watching this hopefully helpful video, because I've been searching. A lot of the videos are long videos that show you how to take the entire firearm apart, and then when you look at a specific item, you don't really see where that is. So yeah, that's it then. Until the next episode, Beystor Makoala once more, www.beystor.co.za. Please provide your support by subscribing, sharing and liking the content. Comment and let us have your thoughts, and then I'll do my best to respond to every query or comment. Take care.